guys? I hope you're all doing well. Back with a brand new lesson. This what lesson I'm going to be doing for you guys is going to be a little bit different than what I'm normally used to doing. Usually I'm teaching a lot of songs and whatnot and a lot of song requests, but I figured that today I would give you soloing strategies. And I know soloing is a big thing. Improvisation on guitar is like one of the biggest things and one of the most fun things that a lot of guitar players do. And a lot of us are always rooted in the blues. You know, we're on these 1-4-5 progressions and we're jamming on them. So I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to break down some different ideas. I'm going to throw some arpeggios at you, some arpeggio shapes. I'm going to throw in some major and minor pentatonic. That's a huge thing. Being able to mix those two scales together over these progressions are really just a fundamental way to take your soloing to the next level. So I'm going to zoom in on the fretboard. I'm going to show you some different concepts and ideas that I utilize in my own playing. And maybe you guys can get something out of it. Leave some comments below for future videos. Like and subscribe. Let's get right to this lesson. Okay guys, so that jam that I was playing in the beginning was based out of the key of E. I was playing an E7 chord. The specific voicing that I was playing was up here. But I think what people often don't realize is that arpeggios are shapes that can really be very melodic if you use them appropriately. I think a lot of videos on the internet and YouTube don't necessarily go in depth of, you know, how the arpeggio works. I think a lot of people just kind of plug in the shape and they don't really necessarily tell you how to utilize them. So I was, like I said, I was playing an E7 chord. The certain arpeggio that I was playing was up here. And then I was also playing one up here. So what I was basically doing is I was playing those notes of this E7 chord individually, and I was using that with my phrasing while I was also mixing major and minor pentatonic. I think a lot of people also overlook that idea as well. So I'm going to throw all these different concepts at you, and I'm going to kind of break it down for you, and I'll show you a way to utilize them in your own playing, specifically how I use them in my playing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you based on our trusty old pentatonic based in E on the 12th fret, our home row kind of pentatonic. I think a lot of people usually use this. I'll zoom in a little bit so you can get a little bit of a clearer picture. I think a lot of people use this as their home row, and I think this is a huge advantage to your playing to use this. So I'll show you the arpeggio for an E7 chord. So I'm going to put my middle finger on the 12th fret of the E string. It's our E note. We're going to go 1, then we're going to jump over to the A string on the 11th fret. That's our major third, our G sharp, so we have this. And then I'm going to grab the 5th of the B note, which is the 14th of the A string. So I have that right there is just an arpeggio of an E chord. And then I'm going to go over and grab the 7th, which is our minor 7th interval, which makes our actual E7 chord, which is a D note. We're going to grab that on the 12th fret of the D string. So we're going to have, I'd recommend grabbing that with your first finger. Now we're going to go to the octave E, which is the 14th fret of the D string. So that's one octave. Now we're going to do a second octave of it, and we're going to go on the G string, 13th fret, B string, 12 to 15, which is our 7th again, and then we're going to go to the octave E, 12th fret of the first string. So if we look at that shape, pay attention that this is also in our home row, minor pentatonic. So if we're jamming over something, not only can we throw some of our regular licks, we can now also incorporate that arpeggio. So if I have that track still lined up here, so right now I'll just play strictly minor pentatonic. Now I'll play the arpeggio shape. Mix them together. So if you kind of listen to that, you could hear some of that major pentatonic as well. I threw it in this lick. So basically, if we look at this shape, not only do we have our minor pentatonic, we have our E7 dominant arpeggio, all based in that shape. So I don't have to go all over the neck and move all the time. Guitar players often think that they have to, you want to move all over the neck, which is definitely a, important skill to be able to get one day. But I want you guys to understand that you can do all this in one zone of the fretboard. I mean, look at this. I'm just between these couple frets right here, this zone of the fretboard, and I'm be able to do it all. Now, I also want to talk about mixing the major and minor pentatonic. So we have this shape of the minor pentatonic, and we have that dominant 7 arpeggio. So I think one thing that people don't often understand about playing with major and minor pentatonic is you have to understand the progression that you're playing over. So in this case, since we're playing over a dominant 7th chord, we can utilize the major and minor pentatonic. One thing that people often get confused is they're like, okay, I can mix this under certain progressions. No, it has to be a specific progression. You have to take two elements and match them up together. That's how we get, if I was to say it in terms of, putting sentences together, we can't just put certain letters together and expect them to make words. Only certain letters put together make specific words. It's the same with music. When we're jamming over something that's a major progression like this, I have this major third in this progression, which makes all the difference. So that is the reason why I can use the major and minor pentatonic. A lot of people are like, oh, well, I can just mix both of them. No, you have to match up corresponding progressions. So when I'm in a major blues progression, for example, I'm in the key of E, I can use both the major and minor. So a lot of people learn the minor pentatonic, and that works great over there, but sometimes you want that sweeter sound. And that's what you get when you use these arpeggios in like major pentatonic. So I'm going to show you the major pentatonic shape now, which is just taking, instead of starting our pinky or starting our first finger on the E note and climbing the scale, we want to use our pinky and put it on there and go 4 frets down. And that is what we call major pentatonic. It's the same exact fingerings. We're just playing in a different zone now. So I would have 1 5 1 4 1, or excuse me, 1 4 1 3 1 3 1 3 1 4 1 4. So now I'll kind of show you that you're in still this zone of the fretboard, and if you also want to climb up, You can use this BB box that a lot of people refer to, which would just be frets 12, 14, 12, 14, 13 on the E, B, and G string, which is just climbing up the scale. And we can mix those all together. So let me lay down a new track. We're still going to be playing an E. We'll just do it a little bit lighter. And I'll play the difference between the major and minor pentatonic, and then I'll start adding all of it in together. So here's minor pentatonic. Now I'll play major pentatonic. So if you hear that, you can hear a sweeter sound. Sounds major. Now back to minor. Now I'll play major. Now I'll play that arpeggio. Now I'll mix them all together. So if you kind of hear that, you can see that I'm mixing all three elements now. Not only am I playing minor pentatonic, I'm also playing major pentatonic, and I'm also playing arpeggio shape. So if you get this idea of putting these elements all together, you can see how this would work over a progression. But we also have to bear in mind, remember, this technique can work in any single key. These shapes are all the same. No matter if you know them in this key, you can transpose them. The shapes will remain the same. The shapes here will be the same shapes here in any other key. You just have to remember your root notes. But also remember that mixing the major and minor pentatonic can only be used under the progression of a major sound. So if I am in a major key, like, okay, let's say for instance, we're going to move this to the key of A now. Okay, so we're in the key of A now. Minor pentatonic. Major pentatonic. Arpeggio. Mixing them together. So we get the idea that no matter what key that we're in, we can utilize these type of skills. So remember, as long as you're playing over a progression that is a major sound with a major third in it, we can use mixing in major pentatonic. So just remember, like, okay, so let's go back to the key of E, for instance. We can use the minor pentatonic, the major pentatonic, and the arpeggio shape. Once you can combine all of those elements, you are setting yourself up to be just an improv master. But remember, we have to pay attention to the elements that are surrounding ourselves. When we join a conversation musically, we don't just jump in right away. We listen, we understand what's going on in the progression, we take notes of what we're hearing, and then we join in, and then we add in to what we can deal with. When adding in our musical elements, we have to listen first, and then we can join the conversation. It's just like how we are dealing with real life conversations. Sometimes we sit back when we're meeting somebody brand new and we say, oh, hi, my name is Justin, and your name is? You don't just go in and say, hi, my name is Justin, I love music, I play guitar, that's all I love to do. I work a regular 8 to 5 job, I'm a college kid, I go to school, I drive a car, blah, 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 I love music, these are my favorite bands, blah, blah, blah. No, you join the conversation gradually and you say, hi, my name is Justin, I am a music student, I go to college, I work a job, and you are, and then you go back and forth. And then that's how you communicate with people. It's the same thing musically. You don't just go out and spew all this information about yourself, or when you're doing something musically, you take back, you listen, join the conversation, and you play along with it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. I know it's a little bit different than what I normally do. I will start getting back to the song lessons in the future. Leave those song requests down below and I will get to them. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, like, subscribe, and share it, and I will see you in the next video.